Tell me, as somebody who makes movies and who is so excited by the entire creative process, how sweet is the taste of success?
It's still not sunk in. So we are somebody. I mean, I'm somebody who really enjoys the process. And then it's like a child, man. You can only groom your child and send it out in the world, and then the world reacts to how you've groomed the child. If the child has the right values, and if the child is supposed to be funny, then the world kind of respects that. If the world is brought up, if the child has been brought up well, and that's literally how it is. I mean, that's the closest analogy I can give you right now.
The first question on my mind when the film was announced is, how did you manage to pull off this coup? Because it literally feels like one. To get Tabu, Kriti and Kareena in the same frame, in the same film, must have been a task that many dream of. You guys made it happen. How did this happen?
So you will have to dial back to almost 4 or 5 years ago when I wasn't even in the picture, right? So I think the writers and Ria have been developing this script for a very long time, and sometime in 2022 is when they finalized the cast. So I pretty much came on board when the cast was more or less in place, right? So we just had to kind of go and meet up with a bunch of actors so that they also had the kind of confidence. So that's about it. So honestly, I wasn't part of that process, but I'm sure that must have been very exciting, exhilarating, and at the same time very daunting. So I fully, you have to hand it to Ria the way she's gone about putting every building block in place, and it's been a journey. In her own words, she'll keep saying this. It's been a journey, is what she keeps saying.
Tell me, our industry is based off on numbers, right? Every Friday we look at metrics, we look at optics. Then you see 3 women on the poster. Then trade experts and pundits have their own take on that, right? The audience just wants to go and have a good time. A lot of times female actors say this to us. They say that it's not easy to make a film with a female lead and put her on the poster. Then you have 3, not just 1. Dynamics have changed. People are now singing a different tune because numbers are coming in, and I think nothing slays more than box office. Do you feel that Crew has sort of set the tone, changed the tone, or you feel that the narrative was always there?
I don't know. See, there are films which have been good, which have been discovered later, right? By which time the fiscal window where you could have actually made something out of it kind of just went past, right? And then there are projects which has all the earmarks of a very mouth-watering, entertaining prospect, correct? So to me, Crew is a very unique example of 3 actresses who looked at a script and mind you, I mean, I'm a very firm believer of the fact that had the script not been good, right, had the story not been good, none of these actresses would have chimed in saying, okay, we are interested. And I think it's kind of, it's a bit of a passé kind of a conversation. We should kind of move beyond female-centric films. This is male-centric films. We were just talking about that some time back. I think everybody looks at the power of a script and says, "Isme maza hai ki nahi?" Right? It's a story. Am I interested in being part of the story? Do I see myself? Is there a discourse from my personal life that I can bring to this? And if you purely judge it from the merit of the story had it, right? So which is what I think actors are doing these days. I don't think they're looking at फीमेल सेंट्रिक है कि मेल सेंट्रिक है. ये लोगों को देखने को मजा आएगा क्या? करेक्ट, ये मेरे को मजा आ रहा है क्या? द फर्स्ट फिल्टर यू पुट इज एम आई हैविंग फन वाचिंग इट, डिड आई हैव फन रीडिंग इट, डिड आई हैव फन ड्यूरिंग द नरेशन, डज द डायरेक्टर हैव अ टेक ऑन इट, राइट? एंड look, they're all storytellers, and honestly they are to me they have a pulse on the, they have a finger on the pulse of the market. So they look at it it's a very direct experience. If they like it, they believe that the world will like it. That's been the approach really throughout the project. So I'm not really going to say, I'm kind of a little loath to discussing whether it's a female centric, male centric, right? There somewhere there lies the answer, right?
For me, just watching Kareena and Tabu in the same frame, because it's never happened before, perhaps some point in time a fanboy must have fantasized and dreamt of the fact that 2 of his favorite actresses will be in the same frame. I mean, here they're literally having fun, they're battling off, they're dueling, they're going through an emotional roller coaster ride. Tell me, on set, how was their camaraderie? I mean, Tabu and Kareena are both powerhouse performers, but they're also amazing people, just good human
amazing
beings.
People. They go back a long way. They've known each other for a while. But this is, I think, the first time that they've shared screen space. if I'm not mistaken, Tabu's worked with Charisma for almost over about at least 5 or 6 projects, is what I would imagine. So I think the writing had that, right? And again, the part of the attraction for the actors themselves was the fact that there was enough friendly banter, right? And friendly banter is what basically is what we call chemistry on screen chemistry, right? So the script had that going. So what was fun for us to watch was every scene there'd be discussions on how can we pick the interest or pick the curiosity of the audience. Should I say it like this? Should I say it like that? Okay, well, how about you say it like this and I say it like this? And oh, that's a nicer reaction. Great. So there'd be like a lot of that. So
like
for us,
Lisa couldn't say tu in a scene. I saw that in the
I don't.
BTS.
Yeah. So she was like, I can't call her tu. And then Tabu was like, I don't know what is this hang up kind of thing. But I mean, there's respect, there's camaraderie, and they were so. What was beautiful for me as a director was they were so engrossed in wanting to make the scene shine, right? And that was very touching, man. So that's like any director's dream come true.
But then also, when you see Kareena, she's OG superstar Bollywood glamour. Like nobody comes close to that, right? She has an aura.
Yeah.
Then to have her play somebody who is chasing money and not having enough of that, yet at the same time, she is absolutely in love with the brands. Like we get to see that Kareena side of her when she's pouting, taking
Right.
selfies, which was an extended part of her personality, right? Tabu in the same way, she again 90s 2000, you see all that humor that she's done and she can do anything.
Absolutely.
The way she says lines, I don't think anybody does. She has her own lehza to saying particular scenes and lines. What was the most easiest scene to shoot and what was the most toughest scene to shoot on set between these girls?
I was kind of asking the same questions in terms of, so there's a set of things which you dread before you go into a day and say, man, I need these women to cry, and I'm hoping that, see, crying it's not like a cough which you can invoke on call. Invoking tears, I mean, I've done a little bit of plays in my life, but invoking tears is for me the toughest thing. But there were days when I thought that आज अगर 2-3 take में जाएगा अगर रुलाना है तो कैसा होगा? But they were all, I mean, whether it's Tabu, whether it's Kareena, whether it's Kriti, it's like they do like a very teary take, and then immediately once I call for cut, they look and say, how was that? And then I say, out focus. I think the focus was a little soft. We might need to do one more take, and you're all like looking at each other. Yeah, let's do one more take. And I'm thinking maybe this time it won't turn out right. And every time there's a surprise test. So to me, I thought the parts where the tears occurs, like I mean, especially the performances where you need to see tears rolling down, I thought they'd be tough. But I think ये प्रोजेक्ट में मेरे अंदर का बच्चा भी थोड़ा बड़ा हो गया कि बॉस ये सब प्रोफेशनल लोग हैं, ये तू वैसा बहुत ही तुच्छ चीज मांग रहे हो उन लोग से. These are things which these guys are like, I mean, I'm sure these guys are like talent, and there were retakes, multiple retakes, right? So humor was one thing that we kind of worked on, and those were, some of it was not, I won't say tough, it required a lot of calibration to happen in the same screen. I don't like to kind of shoot dialogues in cuts, though that's the oldest trick in the book. I like things in like how you see it on stage, right? It's a timing thing. One guy fires, the next guy fires, and the third guy fires. Especially that scene where Rajvanshi dies, right? They had to be on call, and though they were kind of shot separately, I can easily put the wide shot there and it'll work like a charm. It'll just work like a dream. But they were just supportive of each other in terms of, okay, you do that, I'll do this, and I'll do that. Though I know after you perform it'll get cut. They were just trying to sync each other so well. And it just helped because then, if Tabu had to react first as soon as he died, right? As soon as you see the gold there and you see that little thing going up, right? And then Bebu had to react next. What would happen is when you're cutting to Bebu, Tabu is giving her a cue. Right? So all those things were very beautiful because it was like a very nice time sequenced, set of performances. And they were all firing for each other. I thought that would be tough again, but that required a little working though. But I mean, honestly, no. With these three women, there wasn't anything which is like tough. अरे ये कैसा करेगा types. Like I said, I mean, I thought that रोने धोने वाला scene का थोड़ा फायदा का, but no.
Tell me, post Friday, how has life been for you? Your phone must be busy, I'm guessing. You must be checking your messages and calls registry a lot. But how has the team spoken to? Have you spoken to the three girls? Have you spoken to Kareena, Tabu, Kriti?
I've been in touch with Kriti and Kareena. Tabu, we speak to each other sparingly. She's not somebody you can backslap and go and say, hey Tabu, what's up? Let's have a cup of tea. Let's have So she's somebody we exchange messages. Kriti's been going for a lot of these shows where she's been wanting to witness for herself. She likes doing that. She likes to kind of go be in a room. And if you listen to all her acting feedback, for example, when we say a certain line, she'll come back and say, when you say this, I have a feeling it'll get a better laugh. Should I swing this performance like this? They were, I believe, just came back from a holiday, from a vacation. I think her children have a kind of smallish window. So I haven't interacted with her. I said, yeah, but we've been exchanging messages. So they're all ecstatic. They're all elated. I'm sure they're. I'm dying to meet them. I'm genuinely trying to meet them and hug them once.
You know that scene where Tabu throws herself on the car on the bonnet, which I think got a lot of chuckles from the audience. Tell me about that scene. How was that? How was cutting that scene?
So that was just meant to be a scene where you were subtly supposed to guess that she caused the accident. But when I was discussing that scene with Tabu, she came back saying that, what if I do one full melodramatic thing on that? Right. So it instantly seemed like a great idea to me. Right. So that's what we did. So you see that there's a little trait that she has. She's a bit of a nervous wreck. Anytime there's bad news around the corner, she ends up popping a pill. If we gave it a very generic name like Campos. But the writers gave a name called Campos because obviously you can't be going and talking about any brand as such. She came up with that and then we said, let's see a couple of takes. She said, don't worry, it'll be nice. And we just saw the first second, we said, fantastic. We just need to know how to cut this now. So it was purely her idea in terms of that whole falling on top of the car, right? I think she just aced it, man. And then when you cut it with Rajesh Sharma's reaction, it just gets you that right laugh.
No, that's one of my favorites of the many scenes. That is one of my favorite scenes. A lot of social media banter with women and men also is the fact that you usually see these A-list male actors cuss or do slapstick or do a little bit below the belt humor sometimes.
Right.
Late night jokes which you perhaps have with family when you're having dinner, right? It's so freeing to see women also engage in that because women also have a funny bone. They also have non-veg jokes to share on WhatsApp or otherwise. That conversation has taken over on social media from women saying that it's nice to see three women it reflects a lot of us because we haven't seen that in mainstream cinema for a very long time. What do you think of this?
I think, cinema pretty much reflects life. I mean, it kind of imitates life, reflects life. I mean, whatever your weapon of choice is in terms of words. I have grown up with women and even before a whole lot of these Hindi galis, I have traditional women in my house who would cuss, right? And cuss is a form of expression which kind of at some level liberates you, right? And when somebody says, wo sala, usne paisa nahi, he doesn't really mean him sala like the definition of sala. It's a manner of speaking, right? And aren't women allowed to kind of, have a little vent? Aren't they allowed to kind of vent out stuff? So I'm saying that I have been in company of women who've said it naturally and nobody's kind of said, oh, here is a swearing variety. I think we should kind of broaden that conversation a bit or just let it be. We were just trying to be careful about, does it feel unnatural in places? Right? So Kriti, I remember, had a few places where she's like, it feels a little unnatural to say it over here. Tabu came back with a couple of places saying, yaar, ye mere ko aarke thoda zyada lag rahi hai, mere ko yahan pe kya lag raha hai? I said, if you feel like saying it in a take, go for it. And if it feels wrong, we'll do one more take. Correct. So there were times when they would say it and we would both look at each other and say, doesn't fire. So we wouldn't do it. Correct. So
you see a lip sync and then
there were,
sometimes
but the thing is you also get into some censor issues and rightfully so because the censor's got a bigger responsibility in terms of and a bigger responsibility in terms of they're kind of answerable to like a big, really big country of about 1.4 billion people here. So there were a couple of places they came back saying that yahan gali agar aap kuch dub kar sakte ho to better hai. That's literally what happened. I mean, but if you look at the international print that's gone, I checked with my cousins and I remember being part of the DCP, when the DCP was being made, we kind of checked it once. So pretty much galis. I mean, I'd say about 10% more galis than what you're hearing, 15% more galis than what you're hearing.
You know, it's too early to ask this, but a lot of people on social media are already campaigning for Crew 2 to happen, because we want to track the lives of these girls and women and see what's next, what's the next adventure they are on, because anything could happen anywhere with them given how their minds think, right? What are your thoughts on Crew 2?
I think that's a bigger call for Ria to take. It's really been a long journey for her. She's been at it. We've been on the production bench for almost since like mid-June 2022. We started shooting in 2023 March, right? So there's a long pre-production that follows. But I'm sure everybody, I mean, my outlook to it is, do we have a script? Do we have a good story to say? I mean, a lot of people keep asking about Loot Case 2 as well, right? I mean, it's one thing to just go and announce a Loot Case 2 with the cast, and I'm sure the audience will get very excited. But I'm always afraid of under-delivering. So to me, it all starts from the script, and as I'm sure that's the case with even Ria. So if she is considering a Crew 2, I'm certain that she's absolutely putting all her ruthless standards, to the script, right? And I'm sure if all that works out, I don't see why she doesn't want to go ahead and do a Crew 2.
That's the question I'll throw to Ria when I meet her. In a parallel universe, hypothetically speaking, fan fiction is also discussing the prospect of 3 men. If they were cast in Crew, what would it look like and who would these actors be? If I had to throw that to you, who do you think in your mind could play these 3 characters?
Depending again on the ages, I mean, that's a hard one. But I just want to kind of pull us back a bit over here. I never saw these 3 women as women. Literally, I never saw them as 3. I saw them as 3 human beings who are going through a real crisis. Right. Now, if you replace them with men, the men's responses would have been a little more difficult, a little more different. Sorry, not being difficult. I'm saying that would have been a touch more, they would have slapped people easily, they would have punched people easily, right? But I think boys fight with fists and mature men fight with brains, or mature women fight with brains, right? To me, that's the angle that I really liked about this. So even if we did a film with men, I would have wanted them to fight with their brains and not so much go out there and throw punches and such. I mean, they had to when it came to like overpowering or like, basically securing Ayesha and tying her in the private jet, right? But I kind of like the idea of the contrast of 3 dainty women who are not trained for a situation like this makes them feel like bigger underdogs for me.